So are we ready to begin for today? Or is everything set up so far?
We can begin, okay?
Okay, yeah,
We
sounds
can
good.
start the lesson.
Okay, so today we will be moving on to a new topic in the BECE Science part exam, and this is part three, Earth Science and Environment and Agriculture. So I'll wait a little bit for everyone to settle down and begin. So again, Earth Science is science of the Earth, study of the Earth. And also the environment. And we will also learn a little bit about agriculture, just parts of soil. So let's begin. First question is artificial satellites can be used for which of these three options would be correct? So is it one, communication, two, oil and gas exploration, or is it three, meteorological studies? So there we have A through B, A through D. Um, does anyone maybe can try to answer this question? Maybe a bigger hint might be like here. Um, I put some notes and main uses of artificial satellites. So it says here that communication is a usage of artificial satellites. So we know that one is correct. We see also weather forecasting, navigation and GPS, Earth exploration. So this includes monitoring land use, agriculture, and water. So Earth observation can also possibly observe oil and gas exploration too. So that is correct. And you can also use it for scientific research, and which one of them can also include meteorological studies. So it can observe meteors falling. So it can do many things such as these. These are the main usage. And there are many other types of usages for artificial satellites. But we can see that all of these answers are correct. So it'll be D, 1, 2, and 3. This is just an introduction to artificial satellites. But now let's get into um, environmental science. So the daily variation of atmospheric conditions is called. So it is asking for daily variation of atmospheric conditions. Is it a climate or weather? Is it a season or is it a humidity? Can anyone try to answer this question?
Kevin, please be.
Yes, that is right. The answer is B. The weather is a daily variation in atmospheric conditions. And this includes temperature, wind, rainfall, and humidity. So you can see the humidity is a part of a weather. So you can describe, um, for example, today's weather by talking about the humidity. But let's look at the difference between weather and a climate. So we have two options here, weather and a climate. So what are these? What are the difference between the two? A weather is a term used for short-term state of the atmosphere. So it is usually only lasting a brief period of time. Usually can change within minutes, or even hours. So it is here, the daily variation. It changes frequently, and it is often when you ask, what is the weather for today? That is why we ask the weather. What is today's um atmosphere like? So you're asking the weather for today, but climate is something different. Climate is the long-term pattern of weather, and it is usually measured throughout the years, and it is um, measured over a very long period. So it can be to like 30 years, and you can observe the change in climate. So you can see differently here. The bottom label is the years, and it measures the average weather over the many years. And you can see that on the right, weather can change within a few minutes or even hours. Climate takes a really long time to change since it is the average of weathers. I hope this is clear. And let's move to this next question. An anemometer is an instrument for measuring, is it relative humidity, uh, rainfall amount, wind direction, or wind speed? Kind of have the answer already here. It is D, the wind speed. So just remember that um, wind speeds are measured by nanometers. So here is what it looks like. And depending on how fast it is turning by the wind, it can measure the wind speed. But this is something different. I put an example on the left here of a wind vane, and this actually measures the direction of the wind. So depending on which way this arrow is pointing, you can tell the direction of the wind. But that is something different called wind vane. But an anemometer measures the wind speed. So that was this question. Let's move on to his fourth question. So rainfall is it a result of low pressure or strong wind or cold wind or low humidity? Can anyone try to answer this question?
A. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I heard A. So yes, if you said A, that would be correct. It is caused by low pressure, and you can observe it on the picture on the right here. So rainfall usually occurs in low pressure areas where warm, moist air rises. So here is a low pressure area where moist air rises and cools and condenses into clouds. So above here are clouds. And all of these happen at a low pressure area. And this is also the place where precipitation occurs. Precipitation is basically just the rainfall or snowfall, any method of um, water vapors coming back down onto Earth. So remember, it occurs in low pressure areas, and D wouldn't be correct because it is actually the opposite. So humidity is the amount of water vapor present in the air. So if this were to say if this were high humidity, this would be correct. But since it says low humidity, it is incorrect. So high humidity can lead to rainfalls. Now we're changing a little bit to astronomy a little bit. So Which of the following planets is at the center of the solar system? This is pretty simple. Uh, it's the Earth, the Venus, Mars, or the Sun. Yeah, many of you guys know, it is the Sun. So let's just quickly move on to the next one. Which of the following planets are closer to the Sun than the Earth? Is it Venus and Mars, or Venus and Mercury, or Mercury and Mars, or Venus and Saturn?
B.
Yes, that is right. It's Venus and Mercury. You can see from this diagram. And it's
Kevin, it's
also,
B.
yes, that is right. It's B, uh, because you can see, in the diagram. And it's also, it can be useful to memorize the order. So you can see the sun is at the center, and it goes in this order: Mercury, Venus, and Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, and also Pluto. Pluto is not considered a planet, but it's still in our solar system. So it's really good to have it memorized just in case a question asks you something like this. Um, it is good to have this in mind. Um, Also, if you maybe have a picture of the solar system in the classroom, maybe you can take a look and try to memorize it. But here was the order. So, was anyone already familiar with the order? Uh, were you guys all okay with it, or? So, yeah, it's good to memorize the orders. Um, I can also maybe send you a really good picture, maybe to have it on the wall of the school or something, because it is really important to know. But the next question is the brightest of all the planets is the Mars, Saturn, Uranus, or Venus. I already have the answer here. It's the Venus. Also something
Yes.
just to, yeah, memorize. Venus is the brightest planet in the night sky. It's often called morning star or evening star. Just fun facts. And it's because Venus reflects a lot of sunlight due to its thick clouds. So Venus is the brightest of all the planets. Um, a quick, maybe a pop question. Do you know what planets, um like in terms of how close to the sun? Do you know where Venus is in order? Is it the first closest, or is it the second closest? The third? Maybe the fourth to the sun? Does anyone know the answer? So Venus is actually the second closest planet to the sun. Um, so if you maybe have a note, it's really important to write this down. Um, for example, in a theory question, the test might ask you, what is the brightest planet in our solar system? And how close is it to the sun? The order of it. So it's important to memorize this order as well. So if you have it written down, let's move on to this question. The people who travel in space are called, are they geologists? Are they astronauts? Are they space shuttlers? Or are they astronomists?
B,
Yes, that is right. It's astronauts. So astronauts are the
B,
people who, yes, that is right. They travel in space, and work in space. It's different from astronomists, where it is scientists who study space. So yeah, you got it right. B is correct. The next question, the grouping together of many stars is known as, is it a comet? Is it an astronomy? Or a solar system? Or a galaxy? It's a grouping of
B,
stars. Um, it is, the answer is D. So it's a galaxy. The galaxy is the correct answer. Because it is a massive group of stars. And this is just a categorization of many groupings. So it's different from a planetary system, like our solar system. The fact that solar system is our solar system is a group of objects that orbit the sun because of its gravity. The galaxy is a group of many stars, and the sun is just one of the stars that are in a galaxy. So this theory question asks you, what is a galaxy? We know that it's a huge group of stars, also includes gas, dust, dark matter, and there are trillions of galaxies in the universe. So there are many, many different kinds of galaxies. So it's not just one galaxy. Um, since it's just a group of stars, but there are many different types of groups of stars. So, and it asks you the second question, state the relationship between stars and galaxies. Again, a galaxy is made up of many stars. And the third question, explain briefly the term Milky Way. So Milky Way, what it is it's the name of the galaxy we are in. So we are in the Milky Way. So Milky Way is just a name of a galaxy. It's named the Milky Way because it looks like a milky band of light across the sky at night. And again, this is galaxy, and our solar system may be just one of these tiny, tiny dots in the galaxy. And it is also important that galaxies are unique. So, what this means is that there is only one Milky Way in the universe, and Milky Way is our home galaxy. And you can see, um, galaxies shaped differently. So you can see some of them are maybe disc shaped or spherical shaped, a spiral, or even just collection of dots. See different types of galaxies. Now let's look at um, lunar eclipses. So a lunar eclipse may occur when I already have the answer here because I'm going to explain it on the next slide. So lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth is between the sun and the moon. Now let's look at why that is the case. So basically what lunar eclipse is that the moon cannot be seen due to the Earth's shadow. Since the moon reflects the light from the sun, when the moon does not, well, it is not able to get any sunlight, it'll appear to be completely dark. So lunar eclipse happens only when the Earth comes between the sun and the moon. So the Earth's shadow falling on the moon. You can see here this is the sun, in the middle is the Earth, and on the right is the moon. So this is the sunlight where it reaches the Earth. This is the area where sunlight is reached. But on the other side, notice how the rest of this spot is blocked. This is called the umbra, this area where darkness is, because it is blocked by the sun, blocked by the Earth. This rest half is the umbra, this casting of the shadow. But when the moon is in this area, then the moon will no longer be visible. It's covered by the Earth's shadow. And the moon usually appears dark or reddish in the sky. So this is how it looks. And as of right now, we talked about the lunar eclipse, but there is also a solar eclipse. So eclipse usually means just a covering of. So you can think of it lunar eclipse as the covering of the moon, where Earth is in the middle. The solar eclipse is the covering of the sun, where the moon is between the sun and the Earth. You can notice that the moon here is in between the sun and the Earth. What this does is that since the moon sunlight comes over here and the moon's shadow is casted on the Earth. So this is completely covering the sun. So here is what solar eclipse looks like. So this is the moon, and it's almost completely covering the sun. Appears to be this sort of color and shape. Again, this is occurring because the moon is between the sun and the earth. That was the solar eclipse. Before I move on, um, is everything clear so far? Do you have any questions? Um, especially about eclipses? Sorry, I couldn't hear you. If you were speaking, can you say it again? So I still cannot hear you. Um, Not sure if it's a microphone problem or
Heaven.
yes, I can. It's better now.
Yeah. Is the earth bigger than the stars in the sky?
Sorry, can you say that again? One more time.
I said, is the earth bigger than the stars in the sky?
Is what bigger
Hello?
than the stars? Yes.
The earth.
Oh, the Earth. You mean the Earth. So you
Yes.
want maybe a size comparison. Um, so Earth is definitely small, smaller than the sun and the rest of the stars. Um, Compared to stars, Earth is very, very small. So um it's this is sort of accurate, not really too accurate, but um you can see the Earth and compare it to the size of the sun. The Earth is smaller, but you can notice other stars that are really, really far away. Although the other stars look smaller than the Earth, it is actually way, way larger than the Earth. Um, the only reason being is that um, the stars that we are able to see in the night sky are really, really bright. That's the reason we are able to see them at a great distance. And if they're really bright, they're usually very big enough for us to see. So yeah, Earth is um very small compared to stars.
Break that.
Yeah, I hope did that answer your question? Uh,
Yes.
okay, yeah, sounds good. Let's look at this theory question. So explain briefly why an eclipse occurs. So we looked at an eclipse occurs when the sun, moon, and earth line up in a way that one blocks the light from the sun. And it asks you to name two types of eclipse. Solar eclipse and lunar eclipse are the two that we learned. Remember, solar eclipse is when the moon is in the middle. Lunar eclipse is when the earth is in the middle. So yeah, those are the two types. And let's take a look at different types of natural cycles. So this question asks, which of the following natural cycles directly involves the sun? It's the carbon cycle, the water cycle, or the nitrogen cycle. We haven't really talked about it yet, so I included the answer. It's only the carbon cycle and the water cycle. This is because if we look at the carbon cycle, well, the carbon cycle is the process through which carbon moves through the air, land, water, and living things on Earth. So plants, it starts with the photosynthesis, usually of the plants. So plants use sunlight in photosynthesis, convert it to organic carbon, and convert carbon dioxide into oxygen gas. And but where does that carbon dioxide come from? It can come from many different ways. So it can come from animal respiration, where it releases carbon dioxide. It can be from plant respiration, or it can be from factory emissions. And you can see it forms a cycle. From these emissions, it goes into the sky, into the atmosphere, and then it goes back into the plant, since plant takes in carbon dioxide and convert it to oxygen. So yeah, it's really important that CO2 is going in the plant and then oxygen is moving out. But from animal respiration, more CO2 is released. Also from plant respiration, also from factory emissions, and it forms a cycle overall in the atmosphere and then back into the plant. It's important to note that plants use sunlight in photosynthesis, and that's why the sun plays a huge role in the carbon cycle. Let's look at the water cycle. So we got carbon cycle, water cycle, nitrogen cycle. So water cycle is this literally it's a cycle of the water. So here first occurs is evaporation. And you can see the sun provides energy for evaporation of water. So it starts from the body of water, like a lake, and because of the sun, it evaporates and it condenses into the clouds. Condensation is the process where clouds are formed when water vapors come together to form clouds. And then it moves to other areas, and then um, precipitation occurs when water falls from the clouds, usually in rains or snows, and it goes down into the river and maybe back to that body of water. And this is how water cycles through the system. Some important key terms to note is the evaporation. Know what condensation is, and also know what precipitation is. The process of precipitation. Just know what these three processes are, and you will be good for exam. So this is the
So
nitrogen
please,
cycle. Yes, do you have a question? Sorry, what did you just say? Or was that a question? Uh, if it wasn't, I'll just continue with the nitrogen cycle. So, nitrogen cycle actually does not involve the sun, usually just happens in the atmosphere and in the soil. So bacteria plays a huge role in converting and fixating nitrogen. It's the nitrogen fixation and ammonification, where it takes in from the atmosphere or the surface of the earth, and bacteria in the soil may convert it back to nitrogen that can be cycled in the atmosphere. That is usually readily usable by organisms. Nitrogen is important because it is a key component of proteins, And our body, our cells operate from proteins. So it is important to have nitrogens in our body. And nitrogen cycles through the atmosphere by organisms, and then through the earth by bacteria. So yeah, these were the three cycles. And you can see now that it's only the carbon and the water cycle that directly involves the sun. Now that this is clear, let's try this next question. The consequences of the greenhouse effect on humans include which of the following? Flooding of coastal cities, desertification of fertile areas, increased number of storms, increased use of fossil fuels. So greenhouse gas effect is what leads to global warming, climate change. So what can occur from these? Um, I already put some of the examples here. Flooding, desertification, increased number of storms. All of these can occur. So you can check out these three. Increased use of fossil fuels, it's not really the consequence of the greenhouse effect. It is usually the cause, it is the cause of the greenhouse effect. This is not the consequence, so we can check that out. So we have one, two, and three, so the answer will be C. So it'll be C. Just remember, the effects, there are many different types of effects, but um, here um, is just a diagram of how greenhouse effect occurs. So it's when the atmosphere traps heat like a blanket. It's the resulting being the warming of the earth. And greenhouse gases are the ones who make these barriers. And they are carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, and way more. And again, they act like this blanket around the earth, makes the earth warmer. Emission of gases like carbon dioxide, usually released. Um, Also, methane when we burn fossil fuels can create this blanket. And naturally, if it's a natural greenhouse effect, the solar radiation from the sun would hit the earth, and usually it would um, go straight back into the space with only some of the heat trapped. So it'll still keep the earth warm, um, but not too cold, but not too hot at the same time. But when humans were involved, we created a lot of carbon dioxide and methane. So this traps the heat that is from the sun. So not a lot of heat can escape back into space. So it is trapped in the earth and causes a greenhouse effect. And these are examples of consequences. So hotter weather, a drought or desertification, storms can occur, wildfires can occur, and also floods may occur because of greenhouse effects. This question asks, which of the following statements best describes the term green ecology? which does it include? Well, green ecology is, you can think of it as a really good thing, focusing on protecting the environment. So this is protecting environment. So protecting the environment is the green economy. So the only good thing of these options is reducing carbon emissions because it does not reduce ecological services. That's a bad thing. It does not lead to loss of biodiversity. That's also a bad thing. It also does not degrade the environment. It's also a bad thing. The green economy is about improving and protecting the environment. C, reduced carbon emissions. There are other methods like cl using clean energy. It I mean the consequences of green economy are having clean energy, preserving biodiversity, and having cleaner environments. So yeah, this is the carbon emission reduction. And here, let's look at this theory question. So explain briefly the scientific principles underlying each of the following waste management practices. So it asks for composting. Composting is the biological process where microorganisms like bacteria and fungi break down organic waste. For example, good bacteria and tiny creatures eat dead plants and food waste and turn them into heavy soil. Recycling is the process where waste materials, um, physically or chemically, can be used can be reusable. So things like paper, plastic, and metals are changed into new stuff so that we don't have to waste materials. Another scientific, maybe a management practice is incineration. Incineration is the process of burning waste at high temperatures to reduce their volume. So, for example, trash is burnt and converted into ash, gases, and heat, and it can cause air pollutions or health risks. So, it's not really an idealized process for removing wastes. Things like composting and recycling is a way better option. So, composting, again, using organic materials, just food wastes to provide back into the soil. It makes a nutrient-rich soil. And recycling here, you can see that it can recycle papers, glass, metals, and plastics. All of these are recyclable. Can turn into new things. And incineration is where, again, it is burned down into smaller pieces. Although it's very effective in getting rid of materials, it causes a lot of harm to the environment by producing greenhouse gases. But these are just management options that we have. And question 17 asks us to list four harmful effects of air pollution. What you can say is it causes health problems like respiratory diseases. Remember that harmful gases are the gases that we breathe in. So health problems are directly linked to respiratory diseases. Respiratory guarding our lungs, part of our respiratory system, and things like asthma, bronchitis, and lung cancer. And it increases heart attacks and strokes. Another harmful effect would be harms plants and trees by damaging leaves and slowing growth. But another major change is the climate change. So it causes carbon dioxide and methane to cover up the earth, and it leads to global warming. There also can be polluted rains like acid rain, where it affects soil and water bodies. And acid rain can also damage buildings and structures. These are some examples of harmful effects um, of air pollution. Um, there are with air pollutions, and there are also water pollutions as well. So how can the water be polluted? It can be by dumping the waste into rivers and lakes, or chemical spills from factories. It can be fertilizers or pesticides. It can be from oil spills or deforestation. Deforestation because it causes the soil to wash into water. There are no more trees to block the path. What you can do to conserve water bodies is use proper waste disposal by using trash bins, avoid chemical dumping, use fewer pesticides and fertilizers, plant more trees, and join cleanup campaigns. There's some ways that we can um, lift the water pollution in an area. So here's how the waste products, dumping waste into bodies of water can cause water pollution. It's the dumping of oil spills, chemical spills, factories. But yeah. So this theory question is directly linked to what we just talked about. State two practices that destroy water bodies. You can choose any of these options on the top. Second option, give two methods of conserving water bodies. You can give any two examples here. Conserving water bodies. You can say it as a use proper waste disposal and avoid chemicals dumpings. Those are just two examples of methods of conserving water bodies. Third question asks to state three effects of dumping waste materials into water bodies. You can say it pollutes drinking water, it reduces oxygen in water, and kills fish and other animals. Or you can say it introduces germs or disease into the water. The next question is state three ways by which the atmosphere in an industrial area is polluted. Industrial areas are usually places where there are a lot of factories. There are a lot of factories. Um, how can these places how can the atmosphere in these places be polluted? You can say that it releases carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide. Cars releases harmful chemicals from factories. You can say it releases dusts or heat from factories too. These are just some ways the atmosphere can be polluted in industrial areas or areas with a lot of factories and buildings. Um, yeah, is everything clear so far? We've talked about um, different cycles and pollutions like atmospheric pollutions, water pollutions, what causes them, and how we can do to prevent them. Does anyone have a question with that so far? If you don't have any questions, we can um try to get more
Devin,
questions. Yes. Do you have
please,
a
I wanted
question?
to ask,
Yeah.
yeah, is it God who created the planet?
Can you repeat the question?
I said, is it God who created the planet? Or
Is it what create the planet? I cannot hear you very well.
is it God who created the planet?
Maybe can you type it into the chat because I can't hear you very well. Um, maybe.
The laptop, yeah, that you can get, yeah.
David, he was. You can say.
Devin, hello.
Yeah. Hmm.
I said, is it God who created the planet?
I can't hear the middle part. Oh, uh,
David, the question was, is it God who created the planets?
oh, like who created the planet?
Yes, please.
Oh,
That was the question he was.
okay. Um,
It's very funny. It's very funny.
yeah, it really depends um on oh yeah, if you're a Christian or a Catholic, yeah, you can say I am also a Catholic, so you can say that God created the planet. But um other scientists try to approach it differently. Um they try to use direct evidence to determine how the Earth was created, but for the planets too, like the entire universe. And a really large theory that we have, the scientists have, is the Big Bang theory. So Big Bang is where everything started, where the universe started to create. Before it was just particles of protons, electrons floating around. But um, yeah, it just depends on your religion, depending on how the universe was created.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. I hope that answered your question. And if you don't have any other questions, you can try to solve a few more questions before we end. So, okay. A substance that could be used in large-scale treatment of domestic water is um here it's
D.
chlorine. Yes,
Yes,
that is right. It's D. Since chlorine kills harmful germs, it can be used in large-scale treatments. So it's a part of the disinfecting process. Which of the following nursery beds is suitable for flood-prone areas. Um, Flood-prone areas are just places where floods are frequent. So, is it a plain bed? Simple plain? Or is it a sunken bed? So it can be a plain bed, or it can also be sunken. So maybe there is a um hole in the middle here. Um, is it a
C.
sunken bed? Or
Raised bed.
um yeah, that is right. It's a raised bed because here if you have a raised bed, then the water would be down here, right? The flood would not reach the raised bed. So
Check.
yeah, that is correct.
Okay.
What nursery beds are? They're special prepared areas of soil where seeds of young plants are raised before they're transplanted. So you can see sunken beds are like this. It's better to use sunken beds in dry places, flat beds in any other cases, different types of nursery beds. And here's the next question. One benefit of technology to industrialization is it increase in cost of production? Is it reduction in skillful labor, provision of machinery, or environmental pollution? You can see that A is a disadvantage. It's not a good thing. So it asks for the benefit, right? So you can cross out A. It's not A.
It's
This is
C.
also a disadvantage. Um, yes, it's C is the correct answer because all of these are negative effects. C is the only positive one. Provision of machinery just means supplying machines for use in industries, farming, constructions. It can save time, increase production, and reduce human effort. So, yeah, the answer is C. And here's just another question that it's good to know. Nitrogen deficiency in soils it actually causes the leaves to turn yellow. It says here. The answer is B. Since nitrogen is essential for such chlorophyll production. Chlorophylls are what makes the plant green. And if nitrogen are deficient, meaning that there is a lack of nitrogen, then it'll not be green, but it'll turn yellow. So that is one of the effects. You can, however, counter this by using nitrogen-rich fertilizers. So you can use composts, which is a natural fertilizer, just using rotted organic waste that turns into dark soil-like material. You can use manure, also animal waste, because they're also very nitrogen-rich. Since remember how nitrogen moves in the atmosphere through organisms. So wastes are usually filled with nitrogens. You can use urea, to bone meals too, which are nitrogen rich and causes plant to grow faster and stronger. Here, a poultry farmer observes that the layers were producing thin shelled eggs. Use this information to answer the question below. The defect identified is mostly caused by deficiency in deficiency is just a lack.
Calcium.
Yes, that is right. It's calcium. Written here. Calcium deficiency is the most common cause of shells. So always think about shells having related to calcium. If it's thin, that means that it had a lack of calcium. Here it's this time it's talking about oyster shells. They observed that the layers had thin oyster shells, and what ingredient could be added to feed to correct the defect? I think this question is worded wrong, but here I'm just going to maybe skip this question because it's marked a
Hello.
little wrong. It's I don't think this one was um too important, so yeah. Um, So when equal amounts of water is poured on dry soil samples, the increase in weight per unit amount of soil would be the highest in. Now we're moving a little bit to soils and mixtures of different types. So um, you don't need to be quite familiar with this yet, but what increases in weight per unit the highest would be the soil, the clay soil, also called the clay soil. So this is an example of a clay soil. This is the gravel. It's the sand, sandy soil. It's the loamy soil. It's a mixture of sand, silt, and clay. The clay contains more than 30% of very small, tightly packed clay particles, and it has a very smooth texture when very wet, and it turns very hard when it is dry. So left is where it contains a lot of water, and the right is when the water is lacking. It's also important to note that clays have high water holding capacity. It can take in a lot of water. Um, it can be a little challenging for farming because it hardens and it's not really ideal for farming conditions since plants cannot grow well in clay. Clay also has benefits too. It includes high nutrient and water retention. So clay does not lose water too easily since it has a high water holding capacity. But we can improve a clay soil by adding organic matter or by mulching or breaking up compacted soil by tiling. So it's more about digging it up. So tilling is basically digging up. So yeah, breaking up compacted soil by digging it up. So here, let's look at some example questions regarding the soil type. So soils are described as heavy because is it because they have high water holding capacity, or contain a lot of stones, or have large air spaces, or are difficult to till, and hard to dig?
Let me please A.
The answer is actually A. Since heavy soils can think about often referring to clay soils. And what can clay soils do? Clay soils can have high water holding capacity. So once it has a high water capacity, it's able to take in a lot of water, and that makes a heavy soil. So if it takes in water, it gets heavier. You can think about it that way. Which of the following statements about clay soil is not true? So does it swell when dry, shrink when wet, has high water retention, or is difficult to plow when dry, is compact when dry? So asking for what's not true. The answer is A, because it doesn't swell when dry. It's actually the opposite. It swells when it is wet. So this should be the connection. And it shrinks when it is dry. So that is incorrect. So A is the correct answer. Swells when wet, shrinks when dry. That's the property of the clay. So B, C, and D are all correct. So it is right. They have high water retention. It is right that it's difficult to plow when dry, since you saw from the cracks. And it's compact as well. So the answer is A. And let's look at the next question. If a soil is smooth and sticky, it means that the soil has a large amount of, and here I kind of
Clay.
put the answer, um, which is A. Um, remember, what is smooth and sticky? Um, that means it is a clay. Remember how smoothness and stickiness is a property of a clay, is the texture of a clay. That's when it is wet. Just remember that. When it is wet, clays are smooth and sticky. So once you see these properties, know that it's a clay. So these are the last two questions. This is sorry, not the last two questions, but um I'm not sure how far we will get to, but so question 29, state three physical properties of a soil. You can say texture, color, the structure, nutrient content, water capacity, um, temperature, any of these work. Just remember it has to be a physical property, what we can measure. Question 30
Okay.
is, yeah, soil texture is a term used to describe the, is it the
C.
amount of water soil can hold or
This is
arrangement?
C.
Yes, it is C. It's the properties of soil, silt, and clay in a sample of soil. So, yeah, it's the soil texture is determined by proportions of three types of soil particles. Again, um, we saw from here, then we are going to have that here, uh, clay, sand, and also silt. There can also be um, some pebbles mixed in there too, but most of these fine-grained soil particles are sand, silt, and clay. Which of the following factors are used to describe a fertile soil? Is it the amount of organic matter? Is it the color or the texture? So the answer is D, which is all of the above, because here, fertile soils, I put a little description here on the right. Um, you can maybe refer to that when you're answering the question. So fertile soils are thick in nature with a good amount of nutrients. So one is correct. And also the color of the soil can be used to determine if it's a fertile soil. And also the textures. So different types such as sand, silt, and clay all have different textures. So textures can also be used to describe a fertile soil. So all of these are good options. Um, I think this might be the last two slides I will cover for today. Um, this is just wrapping up the types of soil. Remember, there were clay, we talked about sand and silt. Loam is a mix, a balance of all these three. But silt is a type of fine soil made up of small particles of rocks and minerals. It is smaller than sand, but larger than clay. I'll introduce this diagram here. But loam or loamy soil, description is here. It's a balanced mixture of sand, clay, and silt. It's the best soil for farming. And again, clay contains more than 30% very small, tightly packed clay particles. And you can see in this diagram here on the left bottom that sand are the largest in size, it's the greatest in size, particle size. You can see that the silt is way smaller than the sand, but it's bigger than the clay which is over here. Clays are very, very small. You can see these brown dots. Those are particles of clay. And that is why one of the clay's properties is that it's tightly packed because the particles are so small. And the particle size comparison, sand is the largest, silt is the second largest, and the clay is the smallest. And remember that loam soils have abundant organic matter. And it is the best soil for farming. And
Continent is free. Continent is free. Continent.
yeah, so this is just a comparison of sandy soil, loamy soil, and clay. And on the left, you can see that sandy soils are much larger. You can see all of these are individual sand particles. Because sand particles are so large, it leaves space for air spaces. It has larger pores. But clay
Okay,
particles are really small. So smaller pores are in the
okay.
clay soil. So it is more compact.
Compact.
Yes, clay soils are way more compact than sandy soils. Has smaller air spaces. Does not let
Let me
air.
please,
Yeah,
what's the meaning of compact?
compact is tightly together. So um, compact just means that particles are tightly packed together.
Okay,
Yeah, it's all of these particles are right next to each other. That's compact. So like that.
okay,
Mhm.
okay. Please let's move on.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, compact soils have less air spaces, and since sandy soils are less compact, has larger air spaces. And yeah. And on the right is just a comparison of um water drainage. So because sand soils leave larger pores, it allows for water to move through. You can see here. Silt particles, which were sort of in the middle, right? Remember how um, sand is the largest, silt is the second largest. So silt is still able to let some water through, but it's not as good as sand particles because the pores are smaller for silt particles. For clay particles, we talked about how compact it is. If it's compact, it has very small air spaces, so it does not let water through easily. Loam soils are somewhere in the middle, since it's just a mixture of silt, sand, and clay. In some spaces, it lets water through, but some spaces it doesn't. So, yeah, these were um, different types of soil that I think I will conclude on today. So it's
okay,
next ones are, yeah, just moving on to different topics. So I think we will end here. Do you have any questions for today before we leave?
okay. Yeah, we are good. We are good. We understand everything.
I mean,
Kevin?
okay, yeah. That sounds good. And
Yeah.
if you don't have any questions, I think I will see you next Monday.
Yeah,
Since
a Monday.
yeah, we have three more meetings before the exam. That'll be
Yeah,
June
that'll
the
be last.
2nd, yeah, June 3rd, and June 4th. So
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
okay, yeah,
Monday
I
and
think
Tuesday, Wednesday.
yeah, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be the three
Okay,
other meetings. So and I think the um IT teacher also knows about the schedule. So
okay. We'll be
um
prepared.
okay. And I will share the slides so that you can take a look at it. Um, so you can maybe self-study with the class. Uh, Um,
All right.
I think, yeah, that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be meeting on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. All right. The same time, the same 1 p.m. Ghana time.
Yes, it'll be the same time too.
All right. Okay. In the morning, at least like 9 a.m.
I just
Mm.
wanted to ask, was today's lesson by the laptop or was there a projector up in the screen?
Yes, by projector. We are using projector.
Oh, okay.
But we are in the library. We are the primary side in the library.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Because the GHS, the network wasn't good. So we came to the primary side.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that
Yeah.
everyone was able to see properly. And
Yeah, we
I
can
will,
see you. Yeah.
yeah, I will share the slides
Yeah.
to you.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, Jerry, yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, so all right. So you mean you will share the slide to us? Will you send
Yes,
it
I
to
will.
Prince? Will you send it to Prince or to myself?
What? So yeah, I will send it to Prince, and yeah, he should have both the slides for chemistry, physics, and agriculture. So
All right. Okay. All right. All right. No problem. So
mhm.
we'll get access to it. Yes. When he receives it, he will share it to me. Then
Yeah,
I'll surely let them have it. Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Okay.
If there are no questions, I'll see everyone next Monday then.
Okay. Any question?
No, 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 no.
All
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Yeah, I'll see you next Monday then. Yeah. Bye,
Okay.
All right.
everyone.
Bye bye. Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.